Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the sort of reaction to this whole Turkey Al Sheikh, Dana White, Riyadh season, this TKO organization, the boxing league that they're talking about doing. Now, with regard to the boxing league, we'll have to let the dust settle. I mean, I'm skeptical. You should always be skeptical, but not cynical about any new idea. So I'll reserve judgment on that because we have to see how it pans out. But it's really the reaction of people who, not all people, but a lot of people who said, well, this might not be a bad thing because, boxing was dying. Boxing was on life support. It was in a terrible place, boxing beforehand. And no, it wasn't. Well, boxing, before Turkey Al Sheikh came along with his bottomless wallet, boxing was in a great place. All right. Are there flaws to what goes on? Is there corruption of some sort? Yes, and there always has been. But to say that boxing was in an awful place is a complete and utter exaggeration, total exaggeration. Believe me, I've watched boxing since I was a kid, and I'm 57 now, so I've watched it for like 47 years. All right, not that when I was that young I was understanding exactly what I was seeing, or I understood what was going on behind the scenes, but when you get to your teens, you start to read tons of magazines, books, and so on, and you understand what goes on about promotional stuff, and you observe things. And I can remember the cartel in the UK, Mickey Duff, Jarvis Astaire, and Mike Barrett, Terry Lawless was the in-house trainer. And then if you read books, you go back to the days of, for example, when the mafia were heavily involved, Frankie Carbo, Blinky Palermo, and they basically were trying to monopolize boxing. People stood up to them. Most notably, one of the most notable ones was Customato, who wouldn't have anything to do with them. Certain fighters had to throw fights. Jake LaMotta claims he threw the Billy Fox fight, although some people do doubt that. But, what I'm saying is boxing has been through the mill over the, 135 years roughly of the gloved era, if you like, and it survived, and it will continue to survive, and there will always be peaks and troughs. But this idea, this sort of silly myth that before Turkey came along, boxing was in a terrible place, it was dying, absolute rubbish, absolute claptrap. And people who say this are either spoilt because they're not. They're the type of people who think everything has to be good all of the time. Nothing in life ever is. Hopefully they'll grow up and realise that, and realise you essentially take the bad with the good, as the saying goes. But just for the sake of argument, and if you know me, you've watched my videos before, I like to play devil's advocate. Got to look at both sides of the argument. Let's say they're right. Let's say boxing was in a really bad place before Turkey came along. All right. There seems to be this idea that if something's bad, you scrap it all and you bring in, doesn't matter who you bring in, anyone could be better. We see this particularly in modern politics. I mean, the political modern world, especially in the United States, is terrifying. With, they had a rotten system. When I lived over there like 25 years ago. Their political system was clearly rotten because they had, a ultra-conservative party and a moderately conservative party, the Democrats, who were called left-wing, but were only left-wing compared to the Republicans, who constantly tried to outdo each other and how far right they could push each other. Now you have, because that system is regarded as rotten, as where it's all over bureaucratic and so on. What happened was, we'll get some fucking lunatic in and put all our faith in some guy who's completely ill-equipped for the job, who's been bankrupted 6 times, and we'll put all our faith in billionaire industrialists who have got hundreds of billions of pounds, but aren't interested in, the minor minor achievements of maybe solving poverty or helping people. No. We'll play at being spacemen, see how far we can get to Mars, or some bullshit thing that these crazy people have got in their head. People who are completely ill-equipped to represent the masses. In other words, we'll just wheel any old cunt in and we'll see how they get on, because it's got to be better than what went before, hasn't it? No, it doesn't. It could be a lot worse, as we are seeing. All right. Likewise, and it's the same over here, by the way. I'm not picking on the Yanks, although, my God, they're in a bad state. But in the UK, look at who we've got. 50 Shades of Beige taking over from the Tories. Like, that's going to make a blind bit of fucking difference. Anyway, there's that. Or if you want to stick to boxing, some people say, oh, don't get political on the channel. This is a boxing channel. Don't get political. It's my fucking channel, and that's a good analogy that I'm using, okay? So if you don't like my politics, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. But that is a perfect analogy of the way people think these days, what I've just said. But if you want to stick to boxing and you're from the UK like I am, let's go with the people who hate the British Boxing Board of Control. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. They're all bent. They're all corrupt. They're all this. They're all that. They're all the other. And replace them with what? What are you going to replace with? Because you can replace something bad with something even worse, as I've just said. You know, the British Boxing Board of Control, my God, I mean, some of the things they do, I completely disagree with. I don't like the way that judges and referees are not allowed to have to justify their decisions, you know, whether they're poor decisions or whatever. Poor scorecards, you know, the way that they don't seem to get punished for, or should we say, retrained for mistakes that they've clearly made. But the British Boxing Board of Control, like the WBC, actually, and don't get me wrong, I don't have time for the WBC. I haven't got any time for any of the ruling bodies, but the board have done some good things. You know, the medical attention, the medical protocol, the rules that have to be in place. This is really since the Michael Watson incident in 1991, are probably the best in the world. The WBC, I mentioned a moment ago, if you look at what they do a lot for fighters who have hit hard times. And you know, Mauricio Suleiman and the WBC, I mean, I did a video recently about the ludicrousness of their rankings. They are riddled with flaws as well, but they do some good stuff. And the idea that you throw the baby out with the bathwater and just get rid of everything and then put something else in is stupidity. Okay, now, where am I going with all this? I'll tell you. A lot of people have said, oh, Dana White's great for boxing. Look what he did with the UFC. Look at this, look at that. Dana White's a slag. Dana White is, as Paulie Malignaggi said, a pig. All right. He gives his fighters crumbs off the banquet table. All right. That's it. A few crumbs. Okay. And he's an arse kisser. He licks anyone's arse who's got some money. He's another one of these Trump fans, isn't he? Turkey Al-Sheikh has got a shit ton of money, so Dana's licking his arsehole. Not unlike Eddie and Frank have done, of course. You know, there's no real difference. But why do you think, if we want boxing to be better, if we want boxing cleaned up, we need to not bring in further slags, new slags, to replace the old slags? Isn't the idea that you bring in people who are better? And people say, well, yeah, but Dana White's a good promoter. Well, if in the UFC he has been, whether he can hack it in boxing remains to be seen. But even if he did put on some good cards, I'm sure he will with Turkey's money. I mean, I could put on some good promotional cards if I had Turkey's money. I could make some, because I know enough about boxing to match up some good fighters, to offer them whatever they want and to get them in the ring together. I could do that. Or I could hire people who do know how to do it for me. Yeah, it's not difficult, really, when you've got a bottomless wallet. But what you need to do is you need to say, well, boxing in general, there's too much corruption. There's too many backhanders. There's too much incompetence. So what do? We make things even worse by bringing in someone who, like I say, is just same shit, different package. Dana White is not a fighter's friend. And if you care about boxing, really you should care about boxers. Now, if you don't care about boxers and their welfare and you say, well, they get in the ring, they volunteer to do it, fuck them. But I'm not like that. I've got a bit more character, a bit more moral gumption than that. If you haven't got it, more fool you. I have sympathy for you. I don't want to see fighters ripped off. I don't want to see fighters treated like shit. Of course, I want to see the best fights. We all do. That's a given, all right? But not if it means, a closed shop. Not if it means all the power is concentrated in one model where the fighters are told, you're fighting on this date against this opponent and you're getting this amount of money. If you don't like it, tough. What could be more fascistic, more totalitarian than that? But, hey, I believe in freedom. I believe in freedom. It's all, laissez-faire capitalism. No, it's not. It's vulture capitalism. It's treating the people that create the wealth like shit. Okay. By the way, if you're about to call me a communist, I'm not a communist. I'm a socialist. All right, a socialist. Google these words before you fucking use them. Okay. At least, have the courtesy to Google them. Okay. Yes, I believe that the people that create the wealth, which is the fighters, all right, the ones that give their brain cells up for our entertainment, matter. Okay. And they should get a fair slice of the fucking cake. Okay. A fair slice. If you want capitalism, that of course creates capital, clues in the name, you then don't just let a few people, a minuscule fraction of the people at the top have all the profits. You share it fairly to the people that earned it, okay? And Dana White is the polar opposite of that type of character, of that type of businessman, all right? Like I say, a vulture capitalist, someone I'm absolutely opposed to. So no, I don't have any faith in Dana White. Now, the model itself, the knockout tournament, whatever it's called, this thing with TKO, it might work out. They might have some good fights on it. That's great. But if you care about boxing, I'm going beyond the fighters to the actual game, and you care about the longevity of boxing, and for it being a fair marketplace, somewhere where great fights are made and everyone is treated well, and therefore people want to come to it and want to, they're going to carry on the boxing to future generations. If you care about that stuff, about the game surviving, really surviving, and not dying and not being on life support, then you have to question business methods and you have to question the people who are involved in it. Okay, like I say, boxing isn't dying. It won't die because Dana White's walked in the door. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that. Fuck Dana White, if Turkey Al-Sheikh pulled the plug tomorrow and walked away, it would still survive. Because boxing has survived for well over 100 years and has survived the mob, it's survived other things. It's God knows how many tragedies in the ring. It will continue to survive. But let's have a bit of perspective here. Think about what you want to replace something that's bad with, because you might be replacing it with something that's even worse, and that's very, 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 very bad. It's not just bad, it's fucking stupid. Okay. Leave your comments below. Bit of a controversial one, I suppose, today. I know I'm going to lose a few subscribers and probably get a load of dislikes or whatever the fuck they are. But if you did like the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button. I still appreciate your time, you watching, Let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Much love to all of you, whether you agree with me or not. I'll get you later. Bye for now.